the teacher who lost everyone's respect in one day. I was halfway through my Spanish state exam when my phone rang. Hospice. My mom was declining fast, 30 minutes left if she was lucky. The hospice was 20 minutes away on foot, 10 if I ran. Miss Wexler didn't even glance up from her clipboard. Phones down during state exams or automatic fail. You don't understand, my mom's. She's been dying for months now, hasn't she? Convenient timing for test day. She snatched my phone and locked it in her desk drawer. 28 minutes left. My best friend Isabella shot up. Just let him go, please. Miss Wexler planted herself in front of the door like a human barricade, warning anyone who helped me that they'd be reported for academic dishonesty. Through the desk drawer's air holes, I could see my phone lighting up. Please hurry. Not much time left. Then the principal's voice crackled over the intercom. Please send Archie Smith to the office for emergency family pickup. Miss Wexler walked straight to the intercom and pressed the button. Hospice made a mistake. Student is currently testing. She turned back to me, eyes cold. Don't worry, I'm sure she's used to you disappointing her by now. Something in my chest cracked. I couldn't breathe right. A panic attack, I realized, as the room seemed to tilt. 18 minutes left. A foster kid who never speaks, Anthony, stood up. Her cake was the first birthday cake I ever had. Please let him say goodbye. Wexler told him to sit down. He did, face crumbling. She scanned the room, daring anyone else to speak. You know what I think? A cruel smile. I bet she's not even sick, probably just wants attention, like you. Her fingers moved across the thermostat keypad. A beep, emergency shelter mode activated. The door locks clicked. We were sealed in. 15 minutes left. My Apple Watch buzzed Mom's heart monitor. Her vitals were dropping. Maya, a special needs student who stutters, started crying, saying my mom had taught her breathing exercises every day for free. Wexler snapped back that maybe, if I spent less time visiting her and more time studying, I wouldn't need to fake emergencies. The classroom phone rang. Is this Archie Smith's school? His mom is. Wexler yanked the cord out mid-sentence. Amazing how the hospice always knows exactly when we're testing. 12 minutes. I was on my knees, crawling toward the door. Ellie, a quiet girl who always seemed to have bruises, stood up shaking. She listened to me when no one else did. She saved my life. She wouldn't fake this. Wexler turned on her with pure venom. Same mother who'd gotten her written up last month. Consider it karma. 8 minutes left. That's when Ashley, the perfect attendance, straight-A student who'd never gotten a single detention, climbed onto her desk. I have something to confess. I cheated on every test. I stole the answer keys. I hacked your computer. Wexler spun around, stunned, and rushed to check her computer. Ashley grabbed my arm. Window, now. The whole class erupted, desks banging, kids shouting fake confessions of their own. I grabbed a chair with shaking hands and smashed the glass. I climbed through, cutting my hands, hit the ground, and ran. 6 minutes. I ran like I'd never run before, chest on fire, heart shattering with every step. I burst through the hospice doors. Room 119. Mom looked so small in that bed, her skin paper-thin. Blood dripped from my hands as I crashed to her side. Mom, I love you so much, I'm so sorry. She squeezed my hand with the last of her strength. Her lips moved. I leaned in close. I love. Her mouth shaped the word you. No sound came. Her hand went slack. The whole class burst through the door 5 minutes later. They'd all run after me. Anthony fell to his knees. Isabella shook with rage. Even the class clown stood frozen, tears on his face. Miss Wexler had stolen my mother's last words. The reckoning begins. The hospice nurse checked Mom's pulse, wrote the time, 3:47 p.m., and quietly pulled up the call log on her tablet. Every attempt to reach the school, starting at 3:17 p.m., exactly 30 minutes before she died, just like they'd promised. Miss Wexler had known exactly how much time I had left when she locked that door. My phone was already blowing up. The janitor had found the broken window and called the police. Isabella started screenshotting everything. The messages, the timestamps, the missed hospice calls that only came through after Vexler confiscated my phone. More classmates arrived at the hospice. The hallway filled with kids, some crying, some just standing there in shock. I could hear Vexler's name being said with real anger. The principal called that night, careful and clinical, asking me to come in tomorrow to give a statement about the incident. That word, incident, made something hot rise in my chest. In the parking lot afterward, Ashley admitted her confession had been completely fake, a distraction so I could escape. She was terrified of getting expelled, but said she'd do it again in a heartbeat. Isabella started a group chat that night, asking everyone to write down what they remembered while it was fresh. Within an hour, 17 messages came in, all describing the same thing: Vexler locking the door, ignoring the hospice calls. That evening, alone at home with a bag of Mom's hospice belongings, I held her lavender-scented sweater to my face and replayed the silent word her mouth had shaped, over and over. The fallout spreads. By morning, the story had already gone semi-viral among students. A substitute sat at Vexler's desk. Comments trailed me down the hallway, some sympathetic, some just curious about the kid from the viral story. The counselor, Amy Gordon, pulled our whole group in for a grief check-in. Anthony spoke in full sentences for maybe the first time anyone could remember, describing how my mom was the only adult who ever made him feel like he mattered. At the school assembly, the principal discussed proper emergency procedures without once mentioning my mom's death or Vexler's name. I had to leave before I did something I'd regret. At lunch, I filed a formal complaint through the district portal, Isabella helping me document every timestamp. Ashley added her own statement, taking full responsibility for the fake confession. Over the next few days, more stories surfaced. A girl forced to test the day after her dog died told animals don't have souls. A boy denied a call to his father during an asthma attack because Vexler assumed he was faking. Isabella built a running document of every account. That night, my dad, just back from a business trip, broke down completely when he saw the missed calls. He mentioned something that reframed everything. Months earlier, Mom had reported Vexler for forcing a special needs kid to stand in the corner for an hour. The principal had dismissed it as a misunderstanding. Vexler had been settling a score. A reporter, Zelda Vasquez, approached me in the parking lot. She'd been investigating teachers who abused their power for months and wanted my story. I told her I needed time. Ashley, meanwhile, was facing an academic dishonesty mark on her permanent record despite admitting immediately that her confession was fake. Anthony's truancy record put his foster placement at risk, since he'd left the classroom to follow me. The evidence builds. A package arrived from the hospice, full call logs, every attempt timestamped, exact wording documented. Isabella made backups on 3 separate drives. An officer reviewed the school's security footage with me. It showed Vexler typing the shelter mode override code exactly 17 seconds after the principal's announcement played. Even the officer looked uncomfortable. Days later, I learned CPS was formally investigating Ellie's home situation, the bruises Mom had always worried about. At a district interview, the investigator seemed far more concerned with whether the exam had been compromised than with what actually happened to me. When I finally showed her my Apple Watch data, Mom's heart rate dropping minute by minute during those 30 locked-in minutes, her expression barely changed. The next morning, Isabella organized a silent sit-in outside Vexler's empty classroom. 40 students showed up with signs reading, "Let us say goodbye," and "Humanity over test scores." The vice principal threatened suspensions. Nobody moved until the first bell. The teachers' union publicly defended Vexler's right to due process, warning against rushing to judgment. It was becoming clear the system was built to protect her, not us. At a school board meeting, I gave public comment with my voice shaking, describing the locked door, the ignored calls, my mother dying while I was trapped. Midway through, a panic attack hit and Amy Gordon stepped in, coaching me through the same breathing exercises Mom had taught Maya. I finished in a whisper. The board thanked me and moved to the next speaker like nothing had happened. Small cruelties piling up. Zelda's article went live, and the reactions split the internet, some calling for accountability, others calling us dramatic. The exam board scheduled my makeup test for the same day as Mom's funeral. Rescheduling meant risking my college applications. Isabella's mom, without asking, started a GoFundMe describing everything my mom had quietly done for other families over the years. It raised $8,000 in 6 hours. Ashley submitted a full written statement admitting she'd lied about hacking Wexler's computer, including proof she'd never needed to cheat. Her parents grounded her for a month anyway. I got a letter demanding $200 or 20 hours of community service for the broken window, the same window I'd broken to reach my dying mother. That night I found an old voicemail from Mom, a casual reminder about a dentist appointment, ending with an offhand, "Love you." I saved it in 3 places and backed it up twice. The principal sent parents an email blaming the whole incident on a vague, technical error with the intercom. The lie was so transparent that even uninvolved parents started asking questions on the school's Facebook page. 6 days after Mom died, the district placed Wexler on paid administrative leave, full salary intact, while I picked out the cheapest casket I could find. 2 days after that, an anonymous email arrived. A PDF of 3 prior complaints against Wexler spanning 5 years, including locking a diabetic student enduring a medical emergency and refusing to let a girl call her mother mid-surgery. Every complaint had been dismissed or resulted in a token training session. Building the record. Our whole class gathered at a community center where a notary helped everyone draft sworn affidavits. Anthony wrote pages about the only adult who ever remembered his birthday. Maya wrote about her free speech therapy sessions. By the end, there were 43 signed statements. Zelda filed a Freedom of Information request for the intercom and thermostat logs. These things, she warned, take weeks, but sometimes produce smoking guns. At the hospice billing office, I sat overwhelmed by a bill I had no idea how to pay. An 18-year-old suddenly responsible for adult grief and adult debt at the same time. Leander Washington, one of the foster parents Mom had worked with, brought over a box of photos. Birthday cakes she'd made for 37 different foster kids over 10 years, never charging a single family. Then Ashley's parents showed up with a lawyer, threatening to sue the district for putting their daughter in a position where lying felt like the only option. The investigation kept expanding, now including the principal's handling of the hospice call. When Isabella confronted the district investigator on camera about why exam protocol mattered more than a student watching his mother die, the recording went viral within hours. An anonymous envelope arrived containing the thermostat's technical manual, with the section on emergency shelter mode highlighted, proof it required a deliberate 5-digit override code. Not an accident, a choice. Then came the FOIA documents. Directly where the principal's announcement should have appeared in the official record, the timestamps between 10:47 and 10:52 a.m. were simply missing. Blank pages. Zelda spread everything across my kitchen table, certain the gap wasn't accidental. The hearing, and what justice actually looked like. At the pre-hearing conference, a district lawyer announced that student testimony would be limited to direct observations only, no emotional impact statements. We signed the forms anyway, because it was the only way to be heard at all. Ellie's foster placement fell through around the same time, and she was moved to a shelter facility. She told me it was actually safer there than where she'd been before, a sentence that broke something in me all over again. The community service paperwork arrived, requiring my signature for 20 hours of unpaid labor over the window I'd broken saving my mother's life. Mom's funeral came 4 days later. The entire class filled the small chapel. Anthony read a shaking poem about birthday cakes and second chances. Maya sang despite her stutter. Wexler didn't show. A week later, the exam board granted a partial waiver. I could graduate without retaking the Spanish exam, but it would show as incomplete on my transcript forever, a quiet penalty some colleges would never look past. 3 weeks after Mom died, the district hearing finally happened. Policy manuals and PowerPoint slides on one side, our actual stories on the other. The verdict: the principal received an official reprimand and mandatory training, kept his job, salary, and pension. Wexler was reassigned to an administrative role pending remediation, still fully paid. Ashley was talked down from expulsion to academic probation by an expensive lawyer, forced to write an essay on academic integrity that ended with a line I'll never forget. She'd do it again in a heartbeat. The board later passed new safety protocols, nomming them after a long-dead superintendent from the 80s, never once acknowledging that it was my mother's death that actually forced the change. After, I visited Ellie at her group home. She looked smaller somehow, but the bruises were gone, and she told me Mom used to bring her sandwiches when her dad forgot to buy food. Zelda's article went fully public, and with it came a wave of strangers calling me dramatic, even attacking a photo of me smiling weeks after Mom died, as if grief comes with a permanent expression. That weekend, our whole class showed up in the school parking lot with a shoebox of cash they'd collected, car washes, sold Pokémon cards, whatever they had, $800, enough to cover the window and repaint Wexler's old classroom a soft blue, together in silence. 5 weeks in, I finally sat down in a therapist's office, staring at certificates on the wall, unable to rate my grief on a scale of 1 to 10. Late one night, replaying that final, soundless you my mother's mouth had shaped, I finally understood. The word didn't need sound to be real. I'd felt it in the way her hand had squeezed mine. The following morning, our class installed a small metal plaque by the window I'd broken. The school wouldn't let us use Mom's name, so it simply reads, "Every minute matters." I heard later that Miss Wexler's new job placed her at a school across the district, and that she has to walk past a version of that same reminder every single morning. I hope she thinks of my mother every time. Like and subscribe for more videos like these. Thanks for watching.